It's Fans Corner. Welcome to it, and thank you so much for making time for us. We are back in the CAF Champions League quarterfinals. We've just watched the last quarterfinal game that took place today between Orlando Pirates and MC Alger of Algeria, and that game ending in a goalless draw out in Orlando Stadium in Soweto, which means the aggregate score is now 1-0 in favor of Orlando Pirates, which puts Pirates into the semi-finals of this season's CAF Champions League, joining Mamelodi Sundowns together with Al Ahly and Pyramids out there, which therefore means we are going to have two South African teams in the semi-finals, and we're also going to have two Egyptian teams in this year's semi-finals. It's going to be North versus South, or if you like, if you can call it Egypt versus South Africa or South Africa versus Egypt, the two countries that will be represented in this year's semi-finals. Let's talk about the game. We'll come back to the issue of Egypt versus South Africa because there's a little bit more. The game itself, I think Orlando Pirates, they were intentional about not being pretty, not playing pretty football, but just taking control of what is the most important thing, which is the scoreline. Across the two legs, it was MC Alger who had the ball most of the time. They had the ball position in Algeria. They also had the ball position here in South Africa. But unfortunately, they could not use the ball position. At the end of the day, it's not ball position that's going to win you the game. It is the scoring of goals. They could not find the back of the net, which means Pirates were able to hold on to the goal they scored out in Algeria, and then they make it to the semi-finals. That's what matters the most. Yes, in terms of the playing, I think they were pretty much dominant, especially in the first half. This MC Alger, but they couldn't find the way past that Orlando Pirates goalkeeper and the defense. I think in the first half it could have gotten bad for Orlando Pirates. Actually, there was, I think, around the 8, 9, somewhere before the 10th minute, when Bogazi was cool, calm and collected and made a tackle at the right time, and they was able to get the ball and leave the man. It could have easily been 1-0 in the very early stages of the game, which could have made it a very ugly situation for Orlando Pirates. But I think after that you could see the nerves where Pirates were overwhelmed by the nerves in this particular game. They could barely string in a combination of passes. There were very few completed passes that were progressive. Yes, sometimes they made passes. A lot of their passes were in their own half, especially in the first half. They couldn't, even when they got out of their own half, sometimes they had to play it sideways and backwards. That's how much these MC Alger were dominant. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's the score that matters the most. I guess Pirates, having not been in this stage in quite a number of seasons, you could tell the nerves were getting the better of them at some stages of the game. But even in the second half, they could not, and unfortunately. And I think the side that looked like the combination and the partnership between Relebohile Mofokeng and Dion Hoto looks very good, and I think they could have utilized that a little bit better. We did not see the same thing happening on the right-hand side between the likes of Van Rooyen and I would have loved to see Van Rooyen and Nkota going on to it, creating a better partnership than they did today. This time around, I think Pirates, if you look at the game, it looked like it was a 5-4-1 at some point. I think it looked that way because at the back they had 5 defenders. I'm counting Hoto as well, because when Pirates did not have the ball, you saw Hoto dropping to the back, and he was playing more on the left back, and you had 3 central defenders in Mbogazi. What's the other guy? Ogi and Sibisi as well, and then you also had Van Rooyen on the right hand side. So most of the time when they were behind the ball, there would be those 5 defenders. But then when they had the ball, yes, they tried to push a little bit, especially Hoto. That's why I'm saying the left hand side was working much better than the right hand side. But that was not balanced. But it didn't even help, because most of the time the ball was with the MC Alger team anyway. But at the end of the day, as unpretty as it was effective. perspective for Orlando Pirates, because here it is, it took them into the semi-finals of the CAF Champions League, and that's what matters the most. Jose Rivero, I did say that this could give Pirates a kick. That announcement of his stepping down from Orlando Pirates could give them a kick. They might want to do this for him while they are doing it for the supporters as well. We stand a very good chance to see an all South African final if we are able to defeat the Egyptians. Speaking of the Egyptians, while this game was taking place, the Orlando Pirates, I have to slide this one in as well. While this game was taking place, at the same time in Egypt, Stellenbosch FC were taking on Zamalek. You remember Zamalek, if you've been following African football for some time. These are Egyptian giants as well, Zamalek. They used to be a very strong team, but now they're in the Confederations Cup. They've just been knocked out. Stellenbosch won that game by 1-0, which means now Stellenbosch will also be in the semi-finals of the CAF Confederations Cup. Now we have 3 South African. Remember, there were 4 teams. There were 2 teams in the Champions League and 2 teams in the Confederations Cup. I can't remember who was the 4th team, but they were knocked out pretty early. But now, of the 4 teams that made it into continental competitions this season, 3 of them are in the semi-finals, in Orlando Pirates, the Sundowns, and also Stellenbosch. At the same time, another South African who's making waves out in Tanzania is Fadlu Davids, who is the head coach of Simba. Simba have also made it, for the first time, into the semi-finals of a continental competition. Great things are happening around South African football right now. So, and Simba are going to take, I think if I looked at that road to final chart, it looks like Simba will take on Stellenbosch in the semi-finals, which means that will be a SADC region derby of some sort in the semi-finals, which I would really appreciate. One way or the other, in the Confederations Cup, there will be South African representation in the finals. Either Simba will be in the finals, because Fadlu Davids is in charge. There will be South African in the final if they beat Stellenbosch, or Stellenbosch could beat Simba, and then we'll see Stellenbosch in the finals of the CAF Confederations Cup. And we'll also really appreciate if we could see Sundowns and Pirates as well in the finals of the CAF Champions League. It would make a very beautiful ending of the season, this one. I'd really like to see it happening. I know that people who don't really want to see this happening, but I would really like to see it happening. There's a lot of great stuff happening around South African football right now. I had to just talk about that one as well. Otherwise, congratulations to Orlando Pirates, congratulations to Mamelodi Sundowns, congratulations to Stellenbosch FC for flying the South African flag up high and making sure that South African football is back to where it belongs. We also see Bafana doing pretty well, and Bafana, if you check, they're pretty much dominant. Most of the players that are dominant in the Bafana are these 3 teams. It's Pirates, it's Sundowns, it's also Stellenbosch, if you check, and they're doing really well. I'm not saying those are the only teams represented in Bafana, because I know sometimes people will hear what they want to hear. But it's a very good. It makes for a very good Bafana when you have these 3 teams doing so well at those difficult levels, which means those players will get used to playing under very difficult conditions, especially while we are still trying to qualify for the World Cup, which is going to be next year. If we do qualify, we'll have a very good crop of players with serious international football experience in recent times. It will make for a very good Bafana which can go out there and compete, especially in the new format World Cup. So all of these, I'm looking at it from grassroots all the way to the top, but it makes for a very good national team at the end of the day. That's how I'm looking at it, and I'm really excited to see how everything is going to pan out going forward. Good luck to the 3 teams. Obviously, they're not playing each other yet. Good luck to Sundowns against Al Ahly. I see them. I think they have their work cut out for them, but I think I see them going through. Pirates against Pyramids. It's going to be a very interesting one as well. I don't know much about Pyramids. The last time I checked Pyramids was when Fagrila K was playing for that team. I don't know much about, but I know they're a very good team. I think they're number 1 in Egypt right now. It's number 1 and number 2 of Egypt versus number 1 and number 2 of South Africa. It's going to be a very interesting one, this one. We look forward to seeing it. Congratulations once again to Orlando Pirates, Sundowns, and also Stellenbosch, together with Coach Fadlu Davids out in Tanzania with Simba. Otherwise, this has been Fans Corner. Thank you so much for your time. Please keep on subscribing and telling your friends and your special friends to subscribe and like our videos. We meet again in the next one.